How can I know what my body needs and what fillings put in? That's just sort of some of the things I've been kind of thinking about, how to really understand what the pain is telling me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thanks, Deb. So the question, if I heard it right, it's about, okay, you're sensitive to what's going on in the body, and you're wondering, now, is this something that's purely physical that I have to attend to? Or is there some bigger message here that I actually need to change something or do something different? So what's the truth around that? And I know in a lot of kind of personal development work, there is, or even lots of Louise Hay, you know, of listening to your body, and your body means this. So if you buy a Louise Hay book, there'll be a whole stream of things. You know, if you've got a pain here, it means such and such. Now, I'm not quite as, I think you can use that as a guide, but I'm not quite fixed on that, because I still do believe that our bodies are operating fairly uniquely in terms of the way they're responding to us and our experience. So I always look at that as a guide, even though myself, I remember when I had a problem with an ovary, and if you go to Louise Hay's work, it said something around having a real, like a pain in terms of love, not being loved, and very symbolic, and it did mean something to me. Of course, I had to go and have unfortunately, I actually don't believe it was the right thing. They did remove the ovary, but yes, I mean, I think when we do have physical pain, there is, we do need to attend to it, but then often there is an underlying, you know, message as well. Now, I was at that time in a relationship that was actually very hurtful, where I was giving, but my partner at the time was narcissistic, manipulative, and also misogynist. But so he was a taker, and so I was giving a lot, he was taking, and so I was quite bereft. So I did need to do something, which was look at all of the kind of relationship I was in, and the beliefs that were going on, and whether or not I could stay in that relationship with that person with those beliefs, and whether that was good for my well-being, and it wasn't. And so I'm not with that person. And of course I am, you know, I feel that I'm in my prime in terms of feeling very healthy physically, and also incredible energy, and feel incredibly grounded, because I take care of myself and what brings myself into well-being by listening to, well, not just our, you know, people think 5 senses, but there's the work around the 12 senses, and I believe that there's even more than 12. They're like primary colours, and then we have all the hues, like in a rainbow. And so I do believe our sensory body is another language to communicate with us, but we've got so attached to just communicating with words since we learned the language of words, and then oral and written language. Written language has become the prime means of communication, and so we've neglected to listen to these other sensory languages, which are, I believe, trying to help us create well-being in our mind-body energy state. So I don't know whether I've really answered your question, but I think the more you practice, the more you discern what's the truth. And of course, if you have pain, it normally is something physical that needs to be attended to.
Yeah.
Then there could also be a message there around some belief system, some memory that's trapping energy. I was sharing the other day about a client who's a coaching, who's I'm mentoring at the moment, and she was sitting in front of me like this, and she was all roped up, and she even had Ugg boots on. And I said to her, "Oh, you look cold." And she said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Are you currently in cold weather or hot weather?" She said, "Oh no, it's really hot outside." And I said, "Okay, well, let's just explore your sense of temperature." So we explored her sense of temperature, and we went right back, or she went right back in a moment to birth, cesarean birth, being put in a humi crib and feeling cold. And it was, she had completely opened up to, oh my God, and she's about 60, oh my God, I feel like I've been stuck in a cold state all my life from birth. That was a huge opening for her to tap into how her body senses temperature. And she's now actually started all sorts of things, including starting to eat warm foods rather than cold foods to change her gut. So she's working at it physically as well as doing things that bring her warmth, you know, in her heart, in her whole body. So that was, you know, just tapping into one sense that was prevalent at the time because of a question I asked, and finding out then and tapping into a very old, stuck, unconscious memory from birth. So the more I think we tune in, the more we get discerned, you know, about, oh yes, I've got a tooth pain and so I need to go to the dentist. But then, okay, is there a message there? I mean, we can make meaning out of everything. So don't make yourself sort of go crazy with making meaning out of everything anyway. Like if something pops up, like it did for her, she didn't force it. It just came,
Right.
sensing her temperature. So the thinking mind that we've been trained to kind of forces things, and we try and analyse and reason and make logic. I think when we're working with our senses, it is more non-rational. It is more something that tends to just appear through our senses, through a state of feeling or energy or movement or an image. So I wouldn't try to force meaning on something, you know. Does that make sense?
That makes, I mean, that's a perfect way to think about it, is that sensory information is immediate. And it's not this complex 5 hours worth of rumination, this, that, and the other thing. And so that does help. And it's the language of images and pictures and just sort of grasping in something in the immediacy of it. That's the truth of the body. I think that's a really good way for me to sort of think about it. When I get caught up in A or B or this or that, and I'm using the mind in analysis paralysis, which is one of my challenges.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to stop the recording on that if you're happy with that as an answer for the moment.